guys, welcome back to the Blue Podcast Network. This is the Blue Podcast, and today it is only two hosts. It is me and Lloyd. We seem to be regulars on this show at the moment, but we are joined by Jack, the owner of Interlegends. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
Perfect. Why don't you tell the viewers kind of a brief description of what Interlegends is, and then we'll get into the juicy details.
Yeah, so Interlegends is a charity-run football team, which obviously by the name we have a lot of like ex-professional football players and celebrities that come down and play for us. We travel up and down the country playing lots of games, so we're on a run of I think it's like 20 games in a row or something. So yeah, we go around the country playing games and raising money for charitable causes. But like I said, we get a lot of ex-professional football players and celebs that come down and want to get involved. So yeah, it's I think we're probably the longest unbeaten run in the country at this moment in time.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
20 games unbeaten.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it Man City with the longest in the Prem?
Oh, was it City? Or is it Arsenal? Have Arsenal still got it?
Arsenal must still have it.
I think Arsenal still got it for the Invincibles, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? Liverpool got to like 47 games and then Liverpool lost to Watford, I think it was.
Maybe.
3-0. But that was over the course of two seasons, not just one.
Well, that's very impressive. But yeah, let's get to the start of it. Where did this idea come from?
I don't really think there was an idea behind it, to be honest. I think it all kind of fell into place. So I was actually at my house doing my dishwasher and I was listening to Talk Sport, and Tom Rosenthal, you know, the guy from Friday Night Dinner and Plebs and stuff, he was on there trying to do this crazy thing where he was writing a book about trying to get around the world in 80 favours. So the concept was that...
I think I've heard this.
Yeah. So he was trying to basically get from Heathrow to, I don't know, like Australia or somewhere, and he couldn't pay for anything. He had to basically get a favour for like a flight ticket or a hotel or anything. And the first thing he said on TalkSport was, I need to get from Soho, where my leaving party is, to Heathrow tonight to then catch his flight. And he was like, I'm willing to do any favour for anyone that can get me there, whatever they want. So I thought I'll ring him. And at the time, I had a festival accessory business, which was called Beer Lanyard, which basically was like a lanyard that goes around your neck and holds your pint glass or paper cup or plastic or whatever. And we were working with like PDC Darts, we worked with Gallagher Premiership Final. But as a football fan, I was quite gutted that when we spoke to like Spurs, we spoke to a couple of other clubs, they really like the concept and you can like brand it up. But they said that with the legislation of drinking in
Can't have it in the stadium.
Yeah.
Can't take your pint in. So they were like, look, it's a bit redundant here unless we have a fan zone, it's a cup final or whatever. So never was able to get there. So I called this radio station. I said to Tom, I was like, look, I want you to promote my brand on social media, but I will then drive you from Soho to Heathrow. And he was like, yeah, come down, bring some like products with you. We'll take loads of photos and stuff. And when I went there was a lot of people from the Channel 4 like network there, like lots of like people from Plebs and other shows and stuff there. But his dad is Jim Rosenthal, the football commentator.
Yes.
And his dad's best friend is Kelvin Thomas, who's the chairman of Northampton Town Football Club.
Okay.
Oh, right.
And they were in there and they were like, oh my God, this product's brilliant, like it's amazing. And Kelvin spends, I think he only comes over for like 2 or 3 games to watch like Northampton because he lives in America and he does like a lot of stuff over there and lives in Florida. And he was, we had a few beers and he was like trying to he was trying to refranchise my product and take it over to America for like college football and stuff. And we couldn't really get like the financials to work, but he very kindly stayed as a bit of a business advisor, a bit of like a friend to the brand. And he was like, look, he said, you need to get into football, but I understand like the challenges you'll have to get in. And he said, but what I can do for you is I can give you Sixfield Stadium and put a concert or a festival on. So we looked at like trying to get someone quite big to come and do a concert there and then try and sell our product to football fans to see if they will adopt it and buy it. And then we had proof of concept to go back to the clubs and say, no, it does work. When I was looking at like Ed Sheeran and people like that to come on, their riders, their insurances, like all these
It's fortune, isn't it?
The agent fees and stuff. And everything. I was just like, so I called him and I just said, look, I'm well out of my depth here, mate. I was like, I don't know what I can do. And he said, well, you still got the stadium booked for 4 weeks' time. We're not going to get anything booked in to then. Why don't you do something on it? And I called all my old school friends and said, look, let's put a football match on, raise money for charity and see what we can do.
Yeah.
And then, I went and bought a kit, like just like blank Adidas kit, put like a logo on it and stuff, called it Beer Lanyard FC. And we played a match against Spurs legends. I went down to a Spurs match and I bumped into Mickey Hazard and like a few of the other old boys there. Yeah. And they were like, oh, we actually run a team that goes around playing charity matches. And I thought, that's quite a cool concept. And it was the most exciting thing for me, obviously being a Spurs fan, to be able to play against some of like the people that have worn the shirt, played at the stadium and stuff. But I was bitterly disappointed on the day when they turned up, and they were promising me like Darren Anderton, Jermaine Defoe was going to turn up, and then none of them did. Like basically no one turned up apart from like they did have some names. They had like Neil Sullivan, they had Pascal Chimbonda, like a few decent lads like that turned up and played. But when afterwards the match, like we played this match and it was like really good. Like Kelvin said to us, he was like, you know, you're going to have to sell at least 600 tickets to basically cover staffing costs because we have to pay for the staff, like bar staff and whatever. And I was like, yeah, that should be fine. And he was like, just to manage your expectations, we did one which was Northampton v Northampton like 4 weeks ago. And literally we only had like about 500 people turn up. We sold 4,000 tickets that day to it. And he was just like, bloody hell, how have you done this sort of thing?
How did you do that?
I don't really know, to be honest. It just started snowballing like quite quickly. Like I was getting married at the time. And I remember being like really half cut at my stag do with all my mates, and I was like looking on my phone and seeing all these orders come in because we just launched it whilst I was getting a flight to my stag do. And then by like I was in Portugal for like 3 or 4 days, and on the 4th day I was like, cool, we sold 2,000 tickets already, and it was over a weekend, and I was just like, something's like a bit strange here with it. So it went really, really well. And then afterwards I did a bit of like I called in a couple of ringers. I spoke to Craig McCall-Smith, Jason Lee, Aaron McLean, and a couple other lads that I just managed to get hold of. And I called them and just said, look, we're playing this match against Spurs legends. They haven't lost a game in X amount of times. Me and my mates aren't, like, we don't play anymore or anything. Can you come down and help us out? And then after the match, I went around the bars and spoke to all the fans, and they were like, this is a really good concept. If you did this more regularly, like once a year or every weekend, we'd actually come and follow you around. So then it's just developed over that one thing happening. Where it's all fallen into place to us saying, okay, well, let's redevelop it. Let's rebrand it into Legends rather than, you know, be a lanyard to make it a bit more commercial, make it a little bit more family friendly, as it were. And it's just grown into this.
Wow. And this is all just from a phone call to a radio station.
Exactly.
How did that conversation go? I want to that was a lot of information.
Yeah.
So you called the radio station and you were just the lucky one that got through, basically?
I don't know if I was the first one that called and went through.
Yeah.
But Tom Rosenthal the conversation was, he couldn't believe that I was calling him, like in a sense that he was like, oh, this is perfect. This is the exact type of favour I want, because I think he was a bit worried. When I spoke to him at the pub, he was a little bit worried about some of the favours he'd get asked to do that he might not be able to do contractually or whatever it is, like going on TV when he was still part of like Plebs and Friday Night Dinner and stuff and things like that. But he did get some like really weird and wonderful requests. I was actually gutted about that because the book actually never made it out to publication.
Yeah.
So it was on Amazon. I pre-ordered it and stuff, and he was like, "Oh, you know, you're the first chap to ask me to write in it and stuff, and say like, you know, this is my like, series of events." So I was like, to my wife, I was like, "Right, I'm getting published in a book. Like, this is amazing." And then he said, "I didn't actually get all the way around the world, so I can't do the book." And I was like, "Oh,
that's a shame."
I was gutted. But he was just shocked that he was a bit like, "This is the exact thing that I want to happen. That I can help someone like you, who's a small business, like to try and develop into something else." And he was good as gold. You know, we still. I don't say we talk to him that regularly anymore because times have just gone on and he's obviously quite a busy person, but we went to a couple of his like warm-up gigs and his comedy gigs. He started doing stand-up and stuff, so we were lucky enough to be invited down to that.
Oh, nice.
You know, we still sometimes see Jim Rosenthal at Northampton if we go up there, and Kelvin we speak to every now and again as well, so they're still part of the journey with us.
And I'm always intrigued with the marketing, because you said you launched it and within 3 or 4 days you had 2,000 ticket sales.
I think part of it was because of the way that the Spurs Legends team told us who was coming.
Okay.
We were obviously like,
you can say big names,
Jermaine Defoe and everything like that. So people were like, quite, oh my God, like these people coming, we want to go. And we were quite lucky that because I went to school in Northampton, I knew quite a lot of like their legends and who they were and their names and stuff. So I reached out to them. So we managed to pull in the community of Northampton, the Spurs fans, and then we also raised money for J3 Foundation, which is Justin Edinburgh, who passed away, who used to actually play for the Spurs Legends team and play for Spurs, and he managed at Northampton as well. So I think all of that cohesively together made like the perfect storm for people that wanted to come from all different areas. And you know, my background is I do advertising for work, like I work for fashion brands and do like Facebook ads and stuff and things like that. So all of that mixed in together kind of worked for us and just helped us do something.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. Like 4,000 tickets in such a short span of time. How many days did you say it was? Like 3 to 4? Was it?
Yeah, we sold the first 2,000 over the first weekend when we announced it.
Yeah.
And then originally the allocation we got from cobblers was actually only 2,000.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, well, we need to take the ticket sales down. And to be honest, that was a bit of a mistake. We put them back up at 4,000 because we had to, go and get more stewards. We had to bring ambulances in and stuff for crowd control and all that kind of like health and safety stuff you have to do. And then it got to the point where they were like, right, if you do go to the next level, you actually sell out like one of our stands. You've sold that out at 4,000. In the next part, we have to open up another stand for you. And then the costs of going to that, I think we couldn't have made it work unless we actually sold 10,000. And in the space of 4 weeks, we didn't think we was going to be able to do it. So we pulled back at the 4,000 and just said, right, let's just stick to this and just close off ticket sales. So we didn't actually sell any on the day or anything. But in reality, now that we've done it a fair few times, next time we do it, we'll be able to put our foot on the gas and say, right, okay, we can keep pushing it to that 10,000 mark and keep delivering.
Yeah. How has that been, planning so many different charity matches? Because, of course, we've got our own one coming this Sunday. This is the first one that we've done. How did you feel like planning your first couple? Was it difficult? Was it challenging? Or does it get easier the more that you end up like preparing to do these events and games?
At least it gets easier.
It does get easier in the sense that once someone comes to the first one and they go, oh, this is actually all right. And, especially with ex-professional football players, I feel like they trust their own. So if, like, for example, Leroy Lita now, he'll say to me, do you need any players this weekend? I'll send you over a couple of numbers or whatever. I spoke to them, they said, like, I can play or whatever, reach out to these people. Whereas the first one I did it all on my own, like reaching out to people, being like, can you come play in this? Can you come to this match? And now we've done that a few times. We've got the core of the same teams. We probably get the same, like, 8 or 9 people that turn up from an ex-professional background that come and play. Yeah. And they always, like, turn up and they always, like, play the match, and then they might bring in 1 or 2 people. So in that sense, it does get easier. But the logistics of organising live events, as you guys can probably imagine, is a nightmare, and things get thrown at you, and on the day there's curveballs you have to sort of think on your feet. Like, we played a match at Southampton against Pieface and all these YouTubers and stuff, and I was obviously still playing the team, so I was getting ready, like just about to go and warm up, and then one of their stewards said there's about 4,000 people queuing around the stadium to get in, and you're going to kick off in 20 minutes. And I thought, oh my God. So I ran around in my football boots and opened up another turnstile and was just checking tickets in and getting people in just to try and help the crowd go through. Yeah. So things like that never get easier because they're curveballs. Like at Southampton, I think we had a week's worth of rain in that match.
Yes.
And it was like,
I've saw the video.
Yeah, it was crazy. So like things like that, every other match we've played, it's been sunny, we never had to deal with that, but we had to think on our feet with that. We had a presenter that was going to go around and warm up and talk to all the players and interview them. Couldn't do it because the mic was still attached and it couldn't get wet. Yeah. So things like that, just, you get thrown them sort of curveballs, and it's just how you react to them. They're the things that are always going to be hard because what you dealt with at Southampton won't be the same you deal with at Northampton next year. It'll be something completely different. You have to try and work around and try and fix that problem. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine. I mean, as we said, we're doing it right now, and you don't really realise how much work goes in behind it. No. It's consistently every day on the phone, texting people this, that, and everything. And I mean, luckily we're a relatively big team. I can't imagine doing it initially with one person. It's very tricky. Yeah, it is. And I think now, the first couple I did, obviously I was still working full time, and I've taken the punt to now do this full time and like manage the team and build the brand and stuff. But one of the things that I wanted to do was, I did feel like when we were building the house, the foundations were a little bit fragile. To start building a house, I knew eventually it was going to fall down. So I actually went back to basics and used what we've learned from other events that we've done and said, this hasn't worked quite well, or this can be smoother and this could be better. And I've set up a team around it now of like people that have invested in it. Like we've been lucky that people have invested in a brand and they wanted to buy shares in it and stuff. A lot of the ex-pros have got shares in it as well. So it's owned by, not just by myself now, it's owned by Sean Wallace, our manager, Aaron McLean, Kieran Clark, a few other lads as well. Like they're all bought shares into it, and it's been like helpful for them guys to come in from not just from a player's perspective, but like Craig McHale-Smith's wife. She's Barry Fry's daughter from Peterborough. Yes, I recognise the name. Yeah, Amber Fry. So she does all of our charity element because it's something that I've never done before. I don't know what the do's and don'ts are of charity, and I realised that was a weakness within the foundations of the team, that I said, okay, I need someone here who's got that experience. So she used to do all Peterborough's charity events and stuff. So I said to her, right, you focus on that. We've got a guy called Chris who's come from Pitch Positivity. I think you guys know that as well. I met him at an event, and the first event I met him at, I think we were playing at Dorking Wanderers, and he said, "Hi, I'm Chris," and he goes, "Here's a tripod, here's a thing for your phone, you can record all your matches now." And I thought, I don't know anything about this, I don't know what a tripod is, don't know how to set it up. I think it's still in my garage, and if he listens to this, he'll probably kill me for that, but I've never used it. But I said to him, like, as he came to more matches and stuff, he had the same sort of right attitude to come into the team and help me develop something. And I said, right, our social media is to this point, but I'm posting everything myself, I'm creating everything myself. And, we got to the point where at Southampton, we had 15 photographers turn up and 8 videographers. And,
wow.
For one match, because we've got so many matches coming up, you can only use that content from that match for that week.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, you're on to another subject, you talk about something else. And I said to him, we want to streamline that. It doesn't benefit us having 14, 15 photographers come in. What we want is 2 or 3 good ones that we can repurpose that stuff for the week and then, fine tune it a little bit, because all that stuff now is just sat in our Google Drive and we're not utilizing it. So he's on our mission to try and figure out what that social looks like. TikTok as well is a big one for us.
That's a big one, yeah.
I went on there the other day and I realized we had 60 followers and we'd never posted anything on it. And I was like, okay, we've got to do something there. And then YouTube as well. Like, I've never uploaded a YouTube video, but trying to find someone to help us do that and to redefine that point and focus on all these different areas. But that's what we're trying to do now. We're trying to build that team so everyone's got their own areas of focus. And we can keep building and building.
Okay, yeah, amazing. And then after the first game, kind of what was the next steps there to then, obviously, as I said, rebrand it into Legends and stuff like that?
Yeah. I think it came about because we got a couple of phone calls from some big networks like Sky Sports and TalkSport. They sort of spoke to us and just said, look, we love what you're doing. We'd love to come and do something with you. I think Sky Sports actually pitched to come to the Northampton game, but for whatever reason, they couldn't make it work with like presenters and filming crews to be available on the day, because I think there was other matches going on. And but when they spoke to us, they both raised, that kind of feeling where you say to someone, "Oh, our name's Bill Lanyard," and they go like, they grimace a little bit and think, "Oh God, like that's not going to be great before 9 o'clock." And stuff.
Yeah.
And I just felt like that they were not as responsive as what they could have been. So the reason why it was called Beer Lanyard is because I sold a few like sponsorship spaces on the shirt for charity when we did the first original match. But I wanted, because I paid for the kit out of my own pocket, I wanted my advertising space. So I thought, call it Beer Lanyard FC. But I was never really attached to it. And then when like, even when you look at it a little bit wider and stuff as well, we were trying to get some people who were from like Muslim faith and stuff, and they wouldn't come because
Beer Lanyard.
Yeah, of course.
So all that kind of stuff, I felt it became a bit of a barrier for us. And I was like, right, okay, if we want to take it to the next level, we want to go down the route of getting investment and stuff and things like that, we have to take it not more seriously, because it was serious anyway, but we need to be seen as like a proper brand and stuff. So there was a guy I used to work with, and I asked him to find us like a tone of voice and find us a branding and find all that kind of stuff and everything. And he's gone and done that, and we've done that quite well. And I think we found where we sit in terms of like the brief I gave him was around like Inter Miami, Inter Legends, like them kind of things.
Yeah.
I actually asked ChatGPT for the name and said, like, give me a name where it incorporates Legends and something else. And it came up with some wild ones, but I thought the one that made sense was Inter Legends. And then, people were saying to me, make the kit black and blue like Inter Legends, Inter Milan. And I said, I don't really want to do it because our original kit was orange, and I want to keep something there as a nod for where we were before and where we're coming to. So lucky enough, we managed to get a manufacturer deal over the line. We're in incredible talks with like Reebok, Hummel, Maber, and some other really big brands, and just shows where we're going from already in that one step in like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
From going from me buying blanks and putting a logo on it and putting some sponsors on it at local printers to then someone actually saying, well, how do you want your kit? Design it yourselves and we'll make it come to life.
Yeah.
And, we signed with Surrey Sports. So we're with them for this year. They've given us a home and away kit. All the lads have got like towels. They got flip-flops with our logo on it. They get coats. They get like tracksuits and stuff. So even that sense of where we were before, of me just chucking like a couple of £100 at something and saying, here we go, to then getting this all provided to us, it just shows the level we're going to. But I think, people always ask me what the ambition is. And my ambition is always, I want to be Nike, Adidas in terms of the kit. And I want them to provide that for us. And that's where we want to go in the next 5 years. We want to have that sort of stepping stone and where we go and keep driving forward.
Fair enough. I mean, it just sounds like you got a bit of ambition.
Yeah, sounds incredible.
Yeah.
As all of this has been happening, and it sounds incredible, how do you keep your focus? Because it's very easy when you've got these big names, these big brands, it's working well. How do you keep that focus on this is work, like actually enjoying this and not just kind of almost your head going to Mars or anything like that?
Yeah, it is. It is difficult, to be honest, because, like you said, some of the names that come in and things like that, it's hard not to get starstruck by people. Because growing up, I watched Leroy Lita play football, and now he's ringing my phone, and I go for beers with him and stuff and things like that. So it is sometimes a bit of a pinch me moment when we do have these moments and we sit down. Even like we sat in Weatherspoons on Sunday night and no, Saturday night I think it was, and he was saying to me, he was like, oh, like it's good to have you as a mate now. And I was thinking, yeah, but we're not mates. You're still Leroy Lita to me. Like, we are mates, but you're still Leroy Lita to me. Do you know what I mean? And things like that is just, you have to always like repurpose yourself and bring yourself down. And them lads all will get around me and say, you don't realise how big it's going to go and how, and where it is now and how well you've done. And I don't ever want to start thinking about how big it is now, because I know it can be bigger.
Yeah.
I want to keep focusing that. And that's like the carrot that I try and dangle to myself every day to say, right, okay, this is where we can go, this is what we can do. But it does change at some point where you'll do the outreach to people and you'll say, right, okay, I want to go and play at Northampton, and you start speaking to people and you pitch the idea to them. I remember sitting around the boardroom with them and they were all sitting there going, this ain't going to work. And I was going, it will work, I promise you it'll work. And then they invite you back next year. And they say, do you want to do it? And then next year they'll invite us back. And the same with like clubs, when we reach out to them, I'd have taken any stadium in the world I could have played at, and I'd have said I'd love to have a game of football there. Whereas now, after we do Southampton, my inbox is full with like Leeds United, like Reading, people like that coming and saying we'd love to work with you next year. And the same with like before, I think the clubs are quite small in mindset as well. When they originally come in, when you speak to them, they'll say, right, this is our fee to play, and you can only have 1,000 fans in there. And I'll say, well, here's our proof of concept. We've got 4,000 fans.
Proof of concept's the big thing, isn't it?
We got this, we got that. This is what it looked like before. And we put a deck together and send it to them. And then they go, okay, fine. What we'll do is we'll take away the stadium hire fee and we'll do it on a ticket sale basis and work with you on that. Because to us, that's commercially better, because we haven't got 20 grand to front for a cost of a stadium, because it's charity based.
Yeah.
So if they come behind it and they say, okay, well, if you can deliver 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 people to us, we'll put it on and we'll basically take a percentage of the ticket sales and the rest will go to charity. And we say, yeah, that works for us because we've got no upfront costs. So I think people start believing in the story and stuff. The more you do things like this, the more you do events, the more you have stuff that you can show people and say, look, this is what we can do and this is where we want to go. Then people do get behind it as well. But I think for me, like I always have a bit of a moment of reflection, like once a week, just to say this is what we've done. Whether that's going through the Google Drive and looking at some of the pictures, I always ask like the photographers that come at least take some pictures of the fans as well, so I can see the stadium afterwards. And just because when you play football, it sounds stupid, but I've never realised this until I started doing this. But you'll go out and you'll look at the stadium and you'll see it full, and you think, God, that's a lot of people. As soon as that whistle goes, there could be nobody there. And honestly, and it's the weirdest thing ever. You think. I remember when I used to go and watch Tottenham quite regularly, I used to go and watch Spurs, and I'd think, how are they talking to each other on the pitch with 60,000 people around them? Because they must not be able to hear them.
Yeah.
But when you're on the pitch, you can only hear the person next to you or the person just in front of you.
Okay.
You can't hear anything else around you. Sometimes you can't hear the rest whistle.
Wow.
Sometimes you can't hear anything like that. It's the strangest feeling ever. And I'm really bad for it. When I play these matches, and I look around and I think, God, this is amazing. I always think in that moment, just take a snapshot and look at it. But I always like to look back on it as well, rather than just in my memory and that picture that's going around in my head. I like to look at it on a Google Drive and ask the photographers to take a picture. So then when I have them moments of reflection, I can go, right, okay. And it's not moments of reflection either. It's also pushing myself to go further. When I look at it and I think there's 4,000 people there, I look at the empty seats and I say, there's empty seats there. There's empty seats there. Next year, we've got to fill them. We've got to fill them. And I want the whole thing to be full, just so I can keep progressing it. And I want that same picture every single year, so I can eventually see it where we get to the point where we play a stadium and it's full and there's no empty seats. And now I go, right, okay, now how can we get a bigger stadium, fill that one? How can we do that? And how can we do that? So them sort of moments, I do allow myself them times of reflection, but I always try and I do have like pinch me moments as well, where I think this is really cool what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to say, I think that's a great mentality to have.
Yeah.
Constant progression, just wanting to sell more tickets, fill out stadiums.
Yeah.
Is there a stadium apart from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium that you want to look at and say, can we play there one day for a great cause?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite an old school football fan, and I like the iconic old stadiums, like Anfield would be a great one to play.
Yeah.
Like if we could play against like Liverpool legends, I know it'd sell out because their fans are so passionate. So although I would love to play at Spurs, I think it has got that thing where the atmosphere is not that great. Whereas if you went to somewhere where it's a little bit smaller, like somewhere like Northampton, and sell that out, I always think like the smaller grounds are better, because when you do sell them out, they feel more like people on top of you and they're more impact.
Yeah.
Rather than like when you go to Spurs. Like the only time I've seen Spurs Stadium quite aggressive is when they've played like the semi-finals of the Europa
Yeah.
League or the Champions Leagues or whatever it is, that's when they've got onto them. Whereas you go and watch them play against Burnley, and it's like people don't really get involved that much unless like you're losing, then they get on top of you there. But for me, there's a few grounds that I think I'd love to play. I mean, obviously the dream for any football fan was to play at Wembley, right near where we are now. And you've seen it with the Sidemen guys, right? They started. I think they started at Palace or Southampton.
They started at.
Oh, where was it?
No, they started
They played at
league.
Charlton before.
It was a League One side, I believe. It was their first
Leyton
one.
Orient, was it?
Yes, that's the
Oh,
one. It was
that-
Leyton Orient. Yeah.
So you see where they've gone, their progression, and there's nothing stopping anyone that's doing this sort of thing to follow in their footsteps. You see what these guys have done with boxing, right? And this was my point this is how the whole Pieface match came about. Like, it was really strange. He played for us on the first ever Northampton match, and to be honest, he was quite flaky with us. Like, we didn't know he was going to turn up. And I'll be honest, I don't know who he is, and I don't know any of the people we played against. But what was eye-opening for me was when he turned up, we had like Ralph Little there, we had like Mark Wright, like loads of like really famous people that were turning up, and everyone there, if you were above, I'd say 16, you like were looking at Ralph Little and people like that and going, cool, that's Ralph Little, that's really cool, he's here. And then if you were below 16, you were looking at Pieface, and that's Pieface. And the kids were all asking us to meet Pieface, and I was like, the night before, I didn't even know if he was coming. Like, and then he put something on Instagram saying, "Oh, by the way, I'm playing this match tomorrow at Northampton," and just did like a story for us. He turned up, and he was getting bombarded. Like, he was. I think he won't mind me saying he wasn't the greatest of players on the pitch at the time, but he was like coming off the pitch at like, cause it was roll on roll off subs. He was coming off the pitch, sitting on the bench, and all the kids were in the gangways just going, "Can you get Pieface for me? Can you get Pieface?" And the steward turned around to us and said, "Either put him on the pitch or like get him out of the stadium because it's just too much. We can't control it." And so we kept putting him back on the pitch, and he was getting tired and wanted to come off. And then eventually, I just said to him, "I was like, you're gonna have to leave, mate." And he left like 20 minutes before the end of the game and just went and did that. And then that's how we got into the point where I was like, there has to be something there with this world versus our world, where that match has got to come together. Like we see in Misfits boxing, where like Jake Paul's the prime example, right? Everyone thought he was never going to do it, he was never going to do it, and now he's fighting. Like, some of them are old and they're like retired and whatever else, but he's making a career out of it.
He's officially ranked now.
Yeah, he's officially ranked.
Yeah.
Right?
It's the fact that he's still like boxing these people.
Yeah.
Like, despite their age, the fact that he's still coming up against these really huge icons, to me, is mental.
It's crazy. And that's what we kind of said. We said we've seen like these matches where like some of them, like SV2 and like E-Man and like all them sort of lads will go and play, and Manny will go and play with like Ronaldinho on their team. They might play with like 2 or 3 legends on their team. We've never seen it where they play a proper legends team. So we floated the idea to Pieface, and we was just like, look, if you're interested, we'd love you to put a team together. And rightly so, he came back and said, "I'm so busy, I won't be able to do it. I won't be able to put like create my kit, do like a logo and stuff and everything." And luckily we had Surrey Sports there that we said, we want to do this match, this is our concept for it, we will design everything for him, send it to him for approval, and then he'll send it to you, make the kit for him, make the team, etc., etc. And he was just like, yeah, look, if I don't have to do much, if I just have to call my players and just get them together, then I'll do it. And all it took was one tweet, and he said, yeah, look, I want to do this match, and I want to play this match against these guys. Who wants to come play for my team? And like some of these massive names of YouTube and like Stream and Twitch and everything, they all turned up, and they were just like, yeah, look, we'll give it a go and we'll come and play.
That's amazing.
But we were talking earlier about like thinking on your feet and stuff. That match was meant to be at Charlton. I don't know if anyone knows this. This might be the first time I've said this, but the match was meant to be at Charlton, and we were like there, we were talking about it with them and everything, and they gave us a really good deal, to be fair. They were like, I've got a good friend who's used to be the commercial director, and another good friend who used to be a CEO there, and they were like, look, we'll help you get there, we'll help you do it, and we'll sell tickets for you, we'll get behind it, and we'll basically run it with you. So we had Darren Bent coming down, like he was meant to be the face of our team, because obviously Charlton legend and stuff. We had Akin Fenwa, who was our assistant manager, and then everything was ready to go. Ticket sales already started flying. We sold like 1,000 tickets in the first, like, I don't know, couple of days or whatever. And then I went on holiday with my wife we went skiing in France, and I got a phone call, and originally it was from the commercial director. It was like, I've left Charlton. I thought, oh God. And then the CEO, like, they put something out on Instagram saying the CEO's left as well. So I thought both my contacts had gone at Charlton. Yeah. This match was like hanging in the balance. And then the day after, the new commercial guy came in and said, yeah, we cancelled your match. You're not doing it here. And I was on holiday, and like my wife obviously doesn't understand like the aspects that go into the match and how hard it is to organise that stuff. And I had all the players ready to go, like both teams, everything ready to go. People had sold tickets and stuff. And then I basically just had to ring round as many people as I could. It was actually the guy who was the commercial director who said to me, "Oh, try Southampton." And I said, "All right, I'll try them." Called them, and we spoke to. I think we had 4 clubs pitch for it, but they all wanted to do it on different days. Whereas I said we're going to have risk of losing players if we change the date because they were all booked in for that one day. So we had to go with Southampton by default because they were the only ones that did it. The commercial agreement wasn't great with us in Southampton. We had to pay for a nose for it, but because of what we were doing and stuff, it was hard for us to change anything around it. So the event was literally about 24 hours away from falling flat on its face and it never happening. But it's just because we was able to, like luck was on our side or whatever, that someone had reached out to Southampton and said, "Yeah, look, do you want to do it? You want to do it?" Like even on that day, it was so hard to try and make it work because when we played Northampton, we've rented out the stadium for the day. Like we get there at 8:00 in the morning, the match ain't till 3. We stay till like 8:00 at night, have a few beers after. This one at Southampton, they had a match before ours. So we were in a holding room in the player changing, like in the player lounge bit where they had like a pool table and a dartboard. And we were in there holding whilst the other team were getting changed, and then they had to clean the changing rooms and then put us in there. And before the match, like the match before had broke one of the whiteboards, and then they wouldn't let us use the home changing room. So we had like 2 teams trying to get in the away changing room. It was like all carnage behind the scenes, trying to organise all of that. But they're the things that they are character building. They're things that you learn from, and you say next year we've got to have this, and now we've got them a bit more of a bargaining chip. We can go to different clubs and say, actually, this is how it's got to run. We've got to do it like this. You got to abide by our rules a little bit more as well.
Amazing, yeah. And I want to ask how you brought up the Sidemen and their match at Wembley, and I think a lot of people see that as kind of the peak. That's them. Like, how do you get better than that? I want to know how you're anticipating if you get to kind of that point where you're playing at Anfield or whatever. Is your idea we'll just play at all the big stadiums, or how do you not peak, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think one of our ambitions would be to play the Sidemen, and give them a match. Like if they're going to do it as like the top creme de la creme of like influencer football, then we've got to go and beat them. Right, we've got to play them. Yeah, we've got to take them on.
Fair.
And that's what we have to do to take that crown on the top. It's like it's kind of like boxing, and it's quite similar to the way Misfit runs, where someone will call someone out because they're the person, the name that everyone wants to see. That's the same with us. We want to call the Sidemen out. We want to go and play them. But for me personally, one of the visions that I kind of had is I got it from my auntie actually. She is like an avid football fan. Like she travelled around. She's been to every single stadium in the professional league. And she's seen Barnet and Tottenham play at every single, like pretty much every single ground. And I was thinking that's quite a cool concept to do that. And I would have loved to have done it if I was like younger and single and stuff and didn't have a family and whatever else. I could have like dedicated the time to do it. But now with this, I'd like to play a football match in every single like professional stadium that there is, to go around and play there. And I think that'd be a really cool thing to do, to say that we've played every single stadium there. Whether that comes to fruition, I don't know if that's going to be possible or not. But things like that are stuff that I always try and set myself to say, right, this is where we want to go, this is what we want to deliver on. But I think at this moment in time we're probably perfectly set for where we are, because you talk about Sidemen and they're being like number 1. I think the guys that we played at Southampton were close to number 2. Like they're probably round there. There's probably a couple more people you could put in there, like Ginger and stuff and things like that. But the Mannies, the E-Mans, the Piefaces, People's Pundits, all of these guys, they're the ones that are, Specs Gonzalez, like he was like a big name for us to have there. They're the second people that are just below that Sideman thing. Sometimes they'll probably get invited to the Sideman event.
Yeah, I mean, Pieface has played.
Yeah, Pieface has played. Yeah, exactly. Ginger's played. All of them.
Yeah.
So if we can keep them and growing with them, as they're only going to get bigger and better and things like that, as what we will naturally get bigger and better and things like that. Eventually, we might not even need the Sidemen. We might just be able to do our match, and then someone will say to us, "Well, we've done the Sidemen event at Crystal Palace. Why don't you come and do this event here, and we can run it?" We've just we just signed off with Pieface to do this event 3 times, so it's going to be like a trilogy of matches. So we did it once, we're going to do it again next year, and then we'll probably do it the following year as well. Yeah. And we're in talks with a couple of other lads that basically came to us and just said, like, we'd love to come and play for you, but commercially across like the story that we're trying to tell and the brand that we're trying to do, it doesn't make sense for these guys to cross over into our team anymore. Whereas we want to go and play them. So a couple of them are going to go and make their own clubs and play us and bring their mates together and have like content creators and stuff. So there's going to be some big announcements coming out for us in the next year. But we're quite happy with that. But, eventually we do want to, we want to make enough noise that the Sidemen see us and they go, right, come and play us. Or we want to keep banging on that door until they answer it. So that's where we want to get to.
Amazing, amazing. Is there anything we've not asked you that you do want to cover?
No, I think that's
You've hit the nail on the head there.
yeah. It's
Amazing. Well, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you, socials, all that stuff?
Yeah, our socials are at Interlegends FC across TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and our website is www.interlegendsfc.com. Yeah, you can see all our fixtures coming up on there, some tickets on there. Some tickets obviously go through other teams' websites and stuff, but we're on tour at the moment. So this weekend we're playing in Cornwall on Saturday. And then we go to Wales, and then I think it's Nottingham next, and up to Hull and stuff and everything.
Yeah.
So we're right around the country. But next year we're starting already our planning for next year, and we're going to do our major events. We did a big event in February last year where we did a Legends tournament. So we had over 100 Legends turn up. We did like a 5-a-side indoor tournament, which was pretty cool. So hopefully we could do something like that next year as well.
Amazing.
But yeah, just keep an eye and we'll be there.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, guys, for watching. As we just said, check out Interlegends FC, and we'll see you guys in the next podcast. Cheers.